Now we're going to transition to CS and engineering. So a little less bio involved. But again, thanks so much, Allison, and I'll hand it over to Faith.
Hi, guys. Oh, sorry. So now we're going to be I'll be introducing our college CS and engineering panel. So all of our panelists are from Brown University, and I'll just do like a little quick intro of each person. So first we have Ashley, and she is involved in many STEM women's clubs at Brown. Nick works at a fashion tech startup. Lauren human-computer interaction at the Brown HCI lab. Samantha, in addition to studying CS, is considering pursuing a degree in computational biology and attending med school. And Anna is an intern for a nonprofit startup where she's developing a website portal. And David conducts research at the Brown Visual Computing Lab. And lastly, Ellen is currently researching in a paleoclimate and studying potential ocean biomarkers. So if all speakers would turn on your videos and start your panel. Thank you.
Hi, so my name's Ellen. I'm a rising sophomore. I'm the one who's studying mechanical or environmental engineering. And I'm currently in this lab studying paleoclimate and like biolipid markers for researching climate change. So I guess something that I could give insight into is how to get involved in research once you're in college. So I was actually kind of lucky getting research because something that I think you should take note of is that you definitely want to contact a bunch of professors that you're interested in your first semester, because by second semester, they might already have spots full. The only reason that I actually got a spot in the research lab that I looked into was because he was going to have Chinese students come from China, but obviously they couldn't come because of COVID.
I can go ahead and introduce myself next. I'm David Hahn. I'm currently thinking of concentrating in applied math computer science at Brown. And for me, I'm involved in the Brown Visual Computing Lab at school, and it's kind of a focus on computer graphics and stuff. For me, I kind of want to talk about the question a lot of people have of how I got interested in this field. I'm someone that actually went into college with zero CS experience, had never taken a class, didn't know anything about it. And my first kind of intro to it was taking a class in college. And I think it just proves to show that you don't really need to have a lot of prior experience. If it's something that you want to kind of explore, something you're interested in, just go ahead and take a class. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you'll hate it. So yeah, I'd just say like getting into CS field might seem a little intimidating, might seem a little scary. But at the end of the day, you have a bunch of friends to help you out, and you can really learn a lot in just a year. So yeah, I'd say going into college, especially just kind of taking one course, seeing if you like it. And then from there, looking into research positions or internships, it's definitely a doable task for sure. So yeah.
I guess continuing on the CS bandwagon, my name's Nick. I'm studying pure math and CS at Brown University. Me and David work together. That's why I felt it was apt that I go right after him. But yeah, if you have any questions about going into industry, I'm currently in the process of recruiting. If you have any questions about how to get into CS, I too came to Brown with like not so much CS experience. Like I started the spring before, but I had exposure before that. And if you have any questions about like the industry as a whole, any classes or mathy things you might like as well, I'm open to answering those.
So I can go next. My name is Ashley. I'm a rising sophomore at Brown too, and currently I'm thinking of concentrating in electrical engineering and computer science. And I'm mostly involved in like the Society of Women Engineers at Brown, so getting really involved in clubs that are promoting diversity in engineering, especially for minorities. And if you have any questions about being a female in STEM, that's definitely something that I'm really passionate about. And also for me, I came in with a very like bad view of CS. I didn't really have any interest in it, and I was one of the people that didn't really have any experience in CS before going to college, but I took one class and decided I really liked it. So if you have any questions about having like double concentration in engineering and CS, trying to combine those and having those kind of cater to your interests in those specific fields, I'd be happy to answer those too.
Yeah, I can go. My name is Lauren. I'm also a rising sophomore studying computer science and possibly psychology. And so one of the things that I wanted to sort of talk about was how to find a community within CS. Just because when you're studying computer science, it's really important that you have this group of people that you can go to like, whether it's like seeking them for help with your classes or, you know, asking for mentorship about a specific, you know, internship that you're interested in or a research position that you want to do. So at Brown, I'm really involved with Hack at Brown, which is the organization that organizes Brown's annual hackathon, and also the Women in Computer Science organization. And both of those are really good resources for you to reach out to upperclassmen and professors and people who are already working in industry. So if you have any questions about like how to find a good community, whether that's in college or in high school, then feel free to ask.
I can go next. So my name is Anna, and I'm also a rising sophomore at Brown studying CS. I'm not really sure what specifically I want to do with that yet, but college is a great place to dive into every field and take like one class in every field so that you can figure out what specifically you want to do. CS is a really broad field, and so it can seem very daunting, but college is a great way to figure out what specifically you want to do without having to commit to something super immediately. I also wanted to touch on the fact that I know a lot of you guys are high schoolers and you might be scared to apply to like a super STEMmy school without a lot of STEM background. So I decided that I wanted to do CS halfway through senior year, and I applied to some very CS specific schools without any like CS background, and I was able to get into some of them. So if you're worried about not having like internships to back up, like some kids in high school get started really early, I wouldn't worry about that if you want to apply to those kinds of schools anyways, because not everyone starts off like running. Like it's okay to not have an experience and still apply for those schools if that's what you're interested in.
I guess it's my turn. I'm Sam. I am a sophomore at Brown, and I didn't know what I wanted to do going into school. So I kind of went in like pre-med-ish, kind of just like testing the waters. And I feel like Brown's a really good place for you to do that. You can really experience every option at Brown. And my first CS class was actually my first semester at Brown. And I kind of just took it because a lot of people I talked to said it was like the best class on campus. So I kind of just like went in, and it definitely was hard without any background, but you can definitely go through, especially with like all the TAs and the support and all the friends that you make in the class. And from there, I think I definitely realized the opportunities that the CS field has. So from there, I think I'm probably going to major in computational biology just to stay on that pre-med track, but also incorporate some CS into it.
All right, thank you for all of your introductions. So we're just going to have kind of like 3 separate sessions. So first, if you guys have or want to talk about tips regarding college admission, so when you guys were applying for your specific field of study, and then ways or advice on how to get involved with STEM in high school or college. And then lastly, we'll do Q&As. So either people in this current Zoom will type questions into the chat, or we'll take the questions we have from our YouTube live stream. So first off, if you guys have any tips on like college admission and like that whole process.
I guess I can start since I started last time. So I know it might seem daunting sometimes when you like, it's hard to figure out what you want to do in high school. I mean, a lot of us probably don't even have it nailed down yet, but it does help if you're applying to like engineering or CS to, especially if it's a separate school within the college, to have some, like some background interests that can back you up. So definitely look into some camps that you can attend. I attended the SAMI, which stands for Society of American Military Engineers camp. That one's really good. They have a ton of locations all over the country. And another thing, don't focus on stuff that kind of like looks good on an application. It really, I think it shows more when you pursue something that you're passionate about, like, maybe just organizing something in your community. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, nowadays, like a lot of students have the test scores to get into the colleges that you want. So schools are more looking for your personality and your passions to shine through. So even if you don't have the experience or anything to back up what you want to do, if you can show colleges that you're super passionate about what you want to do, and if you realized it late that you're still taking steps to pursue this passion, colleges will see through that because, the scores are kind of like a baseline now, but that's not the determining factor. Like if you're super passionate in something, they will take a chance on you. It doesn't just have to be based on experience.
And one thing I want to add on to that is I think in college admissions or when you're just applying to anything, it's really important that you have a story. And so really thinking about like what makes me different from every other applicant or even anyone else who's interested in CS, like what's my story and how can I market myself? That's really important just because it helps you stand out in admissions officers' minds, I guess, because when they talk about you, they can reference you as this like one person who's like really interested in like computational bio or like game design, and they have that like sticking point. And yeah, so just finding like your brand is really important.
I think a lot of panelists are going to bring like a lot of advice on like things you should do about your application, things you should do to frame yourself. I'm going to give a little bit of advice about how to survive the process as a whole. So I don't know about everyone else at this attending this panel, but I'm an international student, so not a lot of people from my school apply, or a lot from my country apply to like other countries. And moreover, like sometimes it can be really daunting when you are in like certain spheres and everybody's applying for those same schools. They're all gunning for the same positions, and those schools historically only take like 1, 2, or no students from your schools. And it's like, even if you aren't in my situation, the whole process is incredibly stressful, and you're going to be writing applications, like studying for tests, like whatever it might be, for like a good 2 years, and that's all that's going to be on your mind. And I just want to give some advice on how to survive that. The biggest thing that helped me get through my entire college admissions process was focusing on myself. I found that a lot of times when like I would look at other people and be like, wow, that guy has like ISEF, that guy has like so much good CS stuff, that guy's really good at like debate or whatever. And I'd stress myself out worrying about it when I forgot to realize that like, hey, I also have really great accomplishments that I can leverage to get into college as well. And like every second that I wasted comparing myself to other people was like just that waste. Moreover, I think that it's really important to, like, when you're writing your essays, also focus just on yourself there, because the more time you spend like reading other people's essays or getting people to look at your essays, the more voice you lose from your own writing. And that can be really dangerous, especially when you end up having like 20 people collaborating on the same piece of work and it's nothing like you would have written by yourself. I want to keep this a bit short, but remember to just focus on yourself, focus on your mental health, and focus on making sure that like you are running this marathon like a marathon and not like a series of short sprints.
Thank you guys so much for your insight. We actually have a lot of questions coming in both from the live stream and the chat, so we'll just address some of those. So someone asked, can you guys talk more about like the drawbacks to open curriculum at Brown, like if you think that there are any, and your experiences with, Brown, you being very distinct in that way?
I think I can take a stab at this question. I'm someone that's a huge fan of the open curriculum, especially because I was someone that applied as a business major, and I'm CS now, which is kind of totally different in terms of prerequisites and everything. And I just think like it gives you an opportunity to have some buffer room, have some time to just take the classes you want, explore. Like I know out of everyone in this chat and also in general, most people are taking 3 classes in their concentration and then 1 class in astronomy or history or, I don't know, Middle Eastern studies. And that's something that the open curriculum really allows you to do, given that you have time, you don't have those like PE general requirements or that English class that you would never really take if you were a STEM major. And obviously having some sort of foundation is good, but I think Brown is a really good combination of that has it requires us to take writing courses for the STEM people, and you also are required to take some foundational math courses. So in my opinion, I have not yet have any complaints with the open curriculum. I think it's something that's definitely special to Brown, different from all other schools, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of love being able to pick different courses here at the school. So yeah.
I think
Okay.
so.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's all good. I think the only drawback I've really seen, I don't even know if this would be considered a drawback, but Nick mentioned in the chat, like other than the curse of choice, I guess like the only time I've seen people struggle with the whole concept of the open curriculum is when there's like too many classes that you want to take. And if you don't really have any idea of what you are interested, that might be a little hard to kind of find classes that you might want to take for your concentration. So I think what would help combat that would be to kind of just have a general idea of things that you're interested in. And Brown has like hundreds and hundreds of courses, so in all different types of concentrations. So that might be a little difficult, but that's really the only drawback I've seen. And that is definitely something that I feel like could become useful because you'll be able to explore so many things. And yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. Has anyone here been in Science Olympiad, and if there are pros and cons for college apps? I don't know why David is laughing.
I definitely did not do Science Olympiad. I hope someone else did.
Totally okay. The girl before who spoke did a ton of stuff in College Olympiad. So we can just move on to the next thing. So how do you demonstrate interest in your application? So this kind of goes back to that question of like the admissions process. If you have any further insight on how to show like interest in that field, whether it's CS or any of your like minors that you guys are doing.
Do projects, write about those projects. Again, if you don't have a lot of time to CS experience, like recognize that you are a full person, and you are a full person that has done many, many things, and writing about the specific thing that you're going to study is not like the only way to go. Like I wrote all about Hong Kong. I wrote about a coffee shop or a bubble tea shop. I don't remember which. And I wrote about like the open curriculum. Like I didn't really write about CS at all because I applied for poli-sci. So like again, like you're a whole human being that has many facets. You are more than just like the academic field you study. So just remember that, I guess.
I would also say it's good to pull in your interests outside of STEM and see how you can possibly integrate that into the STEM field. Like colleges don't just want students who are going to study well at their school, but they want students who are going to do well with that education. So they want to see what applications you could possibly think of with your degree. So if you can find ways to show like your personal interest, like if you have a sport you're passionate about, something like that, how you can tie that into STEM. You don't have to know specifically how to do it, but if you're interested in pursuing that or like even researching about that, colleges love that, just to see like you're interested in something and passionate about learning more.
All right, sounds good. So this kind of goes into what happens after you guys go to college, but like what jobs do CS and engineering result in? Just maybe like specifics of what you guys are considering and like the different avenues you can take if you were to study this kind of major in college.
I think one thing I've noticed having such a wide range of STEM friends is there's just so many fields of CS, and you can just see like the different things that people are interested. Like I know Lauren is actually a lot more focused on UI UX. She's someone that is really good with the front end stuff, and there's other people that are pure software engineers. They like the back end stuff, more of the nitty gritty, and then there's others that like computer science with econ, which is actually a concentration major at Brown. So that's more focused on using CS for in an economic context. And so there's just so many different fields you can go into. There's data science, security, systems, and so I'd say like depending on what you're particularly interested in the field is kind of where you end up. A lot of people decide that they want to work for a big company like Amazon or Facebook or Google, but there's also those that love working for startups, smaller companies where they feel like they're making a bigger impact. So it's just kind of preference. It's something that you learn as you take classes. You find out what you're particularly interested in, and then you try out different internships. Maybe you like research and you end up doing CS research, which is a huge thing as well. So I think that's just it's based on personal preference, and it's kind of what you're interested in particularly.
And adding on to what David said, I think the great thing about studying computer science is that a lot of the skills that you learn in computer science are transferable across different industries. So like, let's say you're a software engineer in like fashion, but then you want to like pivot to like, I don't know, agriculture. Like that's totally fine because the skills that ultimately you're going to use as a software engineer are like going to be the same in either industry. So for CS, the great thing is that there's a lot of different paths you can take within different fields of CS. But when you're looking for a job after graduation, there's also a lot of different paths you can take in terms of industry.
Okay, so I'm gonna like kind of combine two questions of like why you chose Brown, because I'm sure you guys applied to many different, and I think a lot of our seniors who are watching this right now want to kind of know why you chose the school that you did, or like the process of how you got to learn about Brown.
We'll say it at the same time, open curriculum. It's the only real reason.
Actually,
Also, Clem.
oh, sorry.
Go.
Oh, I was gonna say I was actually choosing between two tech-focused schools and Brown, and I know Brown is like very liberal arts and not somewhere you would really expect to study CS or STEM or any of that. If you want specifics, I was choosing between Georgia Tech and Carnegie Mellon CS and Brown, and I ended up choosing Brown because of the community. I think the other two communities felt a little bit too competitive for my taste, and I wanted a more collaborative environment, one where people were pushing each other to do the best rather than competing for the best. And I knew that I was going to get a great education no matter where I went, and I thought it was more important how my experience was going to affect me as a person versus my education, because I knew that any one of them would set me up for a great career.
Yeah, I totally agree with Anna. It really helps to visit a college, which I'm not sure that you guys will be able to do, which I'm sorry about. But a lot of schools have online tours where you can. It's kind of like Google Maps, where you like walk around the campus virtually. Or Brown actually built like a Minecraft world that's like a replica of the campus. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. But like I think sometimes when you visit a college, it feels like you're kind of just observing them, and you don't really feel like integrated with the campus. But visiting Brown, everybody kind of like sucks you in. They ask you if you need help, if you look kind of lost, and that's totally transferred into the college experience. Everybody's super nice and super helpful, and they just want to like lift each other up.
Sorry to interject, but I have a general question. I hope it's not too off topic, but just a general question about college. Like, I want to ask you guys on your advice of how you stay focused with all of these distractions and things that might come around you. I know some people may not get the chance to go to college in physically for a probably good amount of time, but if we do get to go back, like there might be a bunch of distractions, say people, um, a lot of like entertainment that's just showing up in your face, your personal interests that might drag you away from staying focused on your studies. How do you stay focused on that? And also, how do you find people, like a good friend group and community that's going to help you um, like develop ideas and help you like grow, you know?
I can comment on the finding community part. I think one thing that was really important for me freshman year was um, like most schools will have like an activities fair or club fair where all the student organizations will come out and kind of like a high school club fair sort of thing. And I think in the beginning of your freshman year, it's really it's a good idea to explore a lot of different interests that you might have, even though you might not think that like this could go anywhere. You never know. So I think exploring a bunch of different options in any different club that you're interested in and kind of just sticking with a couple of ones that you want to stay involved in, I think is a really great way to first meet people and kind of develop a community outside of your normal group of friends. And I think a lot of people, especially freshman year, will meet some of their closest friends through organizations and through clubs and events that they're involved in. So for community, I think joining different clubs is a really important part for that. And at Brown specifically, I think most of the people I've met outside of my friend group that I've had like mentorships from upperclassmen, or just meeting people in my major or people that have similar interests as me, joining these organizations were like a pretty pivotal part of my freshman year.
Okay, I'm sorry if someone else wants to answer, but we got a lot of questions. So I think something that people want to know is like research. So if you guys did high school research, how did you get that opportunity? And also like what your experience was like researching. Like what you found, what you thought was interesting, if it made you deter from a certain field, et cetera, et cetera. So any of those things in regards to like research and opportunities.
I'm not sure if anybody researched in high school, but I definitely didn't. But don't let that deter you or like scare you away from asking professors if you can research with them, because I don't think that they really expect, 17 or 18-year-olds to have experience with that.
Yeah, I also did not have research experience in high school, but I did do an internship in high school, and one thing that I will say about like getting an opportunity for an internship or research in high school is that like the key is really about who you know, and it's much easier to get a position if you're connected with someone who's already in industry. So, like, yes, it is worthwhile to send out as many like applications as you can, but if you can leverage like the people who you already know and the connections that you already have, it'll be much easier to get an opportunity.
And I think in the other parts of the STEM world, kind of like the medical side, research is super focused in high school. They're like, oh, like you really want that research position. But speaking on behalf of computer science in general, a lot of people don't really have an opportunity to work with like a college professor on CS research. And it's not like a lot of high school professors are doing CS research at all. So I'd say in terms of whether, I know something that someone asked is if research is a big thing that college look at. All of us in this chat did not do research in CS, and we ended up continuing on with CS at Brown, which is kind of a testament to how it's a different story for everyone, but in no way is research expected or is it required to get into a certain school. And a lot of things I'd say is in terms of, I'm sure a ton of people have mentioned this, but in terms of getting into research in college, it's all about kind of just reaching out to random professors, being not afraid to being like, to just giving it a shot. And like they mentioned, they don't expect you to know everything, and they're willing to work with you, and they're willing to kind of guide you through that process. And you just have to be willing to reach out and set up a meeting or shoot them an email. And a lot of professors are very nice about it as well. And there's a ton of different labs at different schools. And so finding one that you're interested in is really important.
This is a question that's going to be like nearing the end of our panel, so they're just going to be a little bit more specific to Nick and Samantha. But Samantha, if you could like kind of discuss what it's like been doing like CS and medicine, and like what that's kind of been like in your college experience, and Nick, your like internship at your fashion tech startup, like what that's like and what you do there. And that would be all. So thank you guys. Yep.
Yeah, so as a pre-med, there's a lot of requirements that you need to get into med school necessarily. So it's not necessarily like your major or concentration or whatever. There's just like a checklist. Oh, you need to take chemistry, you need to take bio, you need to take all these different classes. So on top of what you're concentrating in, you want to try and complete those prerequisites for med school. And I think with CS, none of those really align with each other. So if you're like a bio concentrator, a lot of them overlap. But it's definitely doable, especially with open curriculum, to like, if you want to major in comp bio or if you want to do CS pre-med, like it's definitely, I've definitely know of people who have completed all of the requirements and like turned out fine. And you have a lot of time to complete all of these requirements as well. So you can definitely take like all these other classes on top of that if you need, like, and if you want to.
Right before Nick talks about his fashion thing, I just want to knock down some of these questions like real quick. that have been asked. Yes, we have a lot of friends. I'm sure all of us have friends in the PLEMI organization, and it is possible to do CS in PLEMI. PLEMI allows you to kind of do whatever major you want in your undergraduate. In terms of IB and AP courses preparing you for college level STEM work, I'd say it is something that does give you a little bit of foundation, but there's tons of people that didn't take like calculus BC and they took it for the first time in college and they ended up doing okay. Is chemistry in high school vital to taking engineering in college, and will many universities turn you down? I don't think so necessarily. It also depends on what type of engineering you're in. It depends on what they're looking at. I'd say in terms of taking difficult courses in high school, I think that's definitely important. And if you enjoy chemistry, that's something you can do. But I personally didn't even take AP Chem in high school, and that didn't seem to affect me at all, especially in the CS field. So yeah, sorry, Nick, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, no, totally. To add on to some of that, at Brown, typically, like if you can think of something, you can probably do it. Like I have no friends that are double majoring in applied maths and archaeology. Really, like the sky's the limit when it comes to open curriculum. There's like no limits whatsoever that I can really think of, other than like you have to use 8 semesters. You can't graduate early under most circumstances. So that's the question about like what I'm doing this summer. So I am working on a fashion tech startup called Style Index. It's a great time. I do full stack web development. So I'm writing front end in mostly React and back end mostly in Rust and Python. And then I also do some DevOps stuff with Docker, GCR, whatever that kind of stuff entails. But I'm also working at a hardware accelerating machine learning company called Stochastic, and they're doing some cool stuff with latent dirichlet allocation. If anyone's interested in like machine learning, they can totally reach out to me. I don't really want to talk too much about what I've been doing because that's like not super useful for you guys, but rather like how I got these opportunities and what you can do to sort of like gear yourself up for an internship like this. So since I didn't really start CS until like I don't know, about 18 months ago, like I don't have like the strongest of foundations that like some people have, like having done CS for 5 years or whatever, but I do have like some foundation. And so leveraging like what I did have, trying to do projects in my spare time, trying to have a personal website and a resume of some sort was literally what got my foot in the door for both of these roles. Like I basically had to cold call people to like try and find something to do this summer because COVID kind of messed up everyone's plans. And then having like a good website, having a good, or I say good, but having a website and a resume is really what is very essential for, CS and CS internships, especially. If you're not going for like a large tech company, like both of my companies this summer are startups, typically cold calling is okay, cold emailing is okay. And you don't need to go through like rigorous interviewing through like, I don't know, HackerRank or whatever, which pretty much has taken up the majority of my day today and will take up the majority of my time until October. But yeah, if anyone has any questions specifically about like industry and like moving into industry, applying for internships, resume or whatever, I put my email in the chat at some point. It's hello@n-young.me. You can surely shoot me an email there.
Thank you so much for coming, and hopefully you guys all now know a little bit more about CS. I just wanted to say thank you again to all of our panelists. And also, as they stated before, Nick and Ellen both put their emails in the chat if you want to ask them questions about that specific thing that they were saying that they could help you with. And yes, just thank you once again. And if you guys want to continue to hear from our other college panelists, next we have our nursing panel. Please stay. But thank you guys once again. And yes, now we will be transitioning.